But Daisy's real laid back, so she's
What is Daisy?
she's part Siberian Husky and part something else. I don't know what. I think collie.
Oh. Is she smaller than Gus?
No, they're well. She's about 2 pounds lighter
Oh,
and
that's
just a little
great.
bit taller.
So they're a similar size. That's awesome.
Hmm.
Nobody can out, I don't know, hurt the other one.
Yeah, yeah. There's not that big size difference because he is aggressive with other dogs. That's that pit bull in him.
Yeah,
Oh,
that you
we just
never
went live.
mention.
Yeah. Oh, I see you standing in Tippus Bay. Hey, there I am. Oh, do you want me to change my outfit?
No, it's fine. I'm just kidding. That's a good outfit. I like that one.
There we go. That's more the speed, right? Here, I'll look like I have some class.
I guess people can see this and
Yeah.
hear us.
Yes.
I
Well,
forgot
hope.
about that. Oh, I'll do 10. I'll go ask if they can hear us now. guess nobody wanted to admit that they played Horizons or Vanguard.
Yeah, if he's talking, I can't hear him. It didn't make this list was like what goes into making a dimension or a dimension item.
Oh, well,
We'd be happy. Oh, there I am, jumping around Tempest Bay.
Here you are.
Yeah. Oh, when you're in BRB mode, it doesn't broadcast.
My mistake. I apologize.
Yeah. So let's try.
Sorry about that, guys.
Have to show off your empty action bars in Tempest Bay.
Vlad, will you say something again?
Hi.
And
Or
Morticus?
something again.
Good morning, internet, or whatever time it is where you are.
And Fiendish?
Hey.
Okay. So, here we are on a fabulous roadshow when we are being joined with today's special guests, Morticus and Vlad. We're so happy to have you guys here today to
Great to
talk
be here.
dimensions with us.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
So while Fiendish is giving you our list of questions, and we're chatting about dimension topics, I'm going to be touring some dimensions by our one and only Fiendish.
What? That's
So-
messed up, Diva.
You guys take it away.
Okay. Well, good morning. Thanks, Diva. You just like totally threw me out of my
Sorry.
little zone here.
No worries. And oh, by the way, if anybody in chat wants to make a comment, you can type it in there, and we'll try to include some of the comments and perhaps questions as we can during the stream.
Yep. So first off, can you tell us a little about your time and experience at Tryon?
Is that for me or asking?
Yeah, it's for you. It's for you.
Oh, for me. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Well, let's see. I started Tryon about 6 months prior to launch. It's been, over 4.5 years, back in 2010. In that time, I was working on content in Scarwood Reach, Glumwood. It's a pretty long list. Implemented the entire Life Epic quest line. Created multiple zone events. I don't know if you want me to list all of them. Let's see. Scripted the Meridian Chronicle of Ascension, Instant Adventure, Content and Brile, Stillmore, Shimmersan, Dusk Inspires. We're talking 4 years of content. That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see, story quests with the Elder Shapers, including the combat mechanics with the quest bosses, population, discover quests in Dromheim, Tarkin Glacier, story quests in Tarkin Glacier, repeatable content in Kalstron Sea, and then more recently, crafting in Dimensions. Did that answer your question?
Yep, I'm pretty sure. Now, the one thing that I really wanted to know, what's up with that orange text?
Oh, well, the default gray text is so boring. I mean, and not to mention, orange is easier to read on the Rift forums.
Yeah, well, the orange definitely stands out.
Yeah, I think it just makes it easier to read. That was sort of, I was posting on there, and I was like, this is just, I don't know, this background, I just didn't feel, I felt orange worked better, so.
Okay, so it's easy to read. And as far as, like, I know that you've, like, really just started looking at dimensions and getting into them, but what would you like to see happen with them?
Well, I mean, I think for starters, we would like to get the community new keys, and as many of the Nightmare Tide objects as we can, and look into increasing the number of dimension slots above 20 if it can be done.
Oh.
So we're still looking into that right now, for the most part. As far as, like Vlad and we had mentioned a little bit earlier, that art and engineering time is a very precious resource, so we have to figure out what we can do to get the community the best bang for the buck with that time available.
Yeah, I know there's been a couple requests for getting dimension slots above 20. I know I'm maxed out on a couple of them. And we actually have somebody on Fablite that recently hit 60 dimensions, and that's Cedrica.
Wow.
Yeah, across her whole account. And now there was a lot of changes that came with the crafting updates, and I know that's still kind of ongoing, but it's slowed down a lot. But can Dimensions expect that same kind of focus? There was a lot of stuff happened in a little bit of time with crafting, and there's still more, with the weeklies and everything that's up on PTS now. I know from your posts on the forums, it seems like you're really, I don't know, where in my day job we call it hard charging, which means you want to get something done and you want to get it done like kind of now.
Well, there was when I took over crafting, I felt there were a few deliverables that we still needed to give to the community. So I wanted to get that done and out as promised as quickly as I could. That's mostly where it was. I don't want it to seem like Dimensions aren't going to get as much attention. That's not true. We're definitely going to spend a lot more time focusing on Dimensions. We've got a lot of cool new stuff planned for 3.3. So keep your eyes on the forums for that.
Yep.
Sweet.
Well, no, I've been on the PTS and just all the NPCs and the sky projectors. Honestly, I want to thank you personally for the Steps of Infinity projector, because that thing is, I love it.
Well, you're welcome. Those projectors don't take any art or engineering resources whatsoever. It's just my time, right? So it's not hard for us to get those things out to you, and that could be something that we can focus on for 3.3 is try to go through a lot more of the skies and build out new projectors, and then make them available for you to use.
Well, to clarify on that, it has to be an existing sky in the game,
right,
for it to not cost any art time.
Right, Vlad's correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Well, I know that there's just been all manner of screenshots posted too for more skies, including like a sunny sky, and the Tarkin Glacier skies have been really popular too. Yeah, the cat vendor on the PTS now. The
Krug
kitties.
put that in.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, it is. and then all the NPCs that are on there. I know I bought one of each when I was on the other night, and just the dimension that I have them in, it just was so loud. I was like, oh my god, I had to leave. And then this one specifically came from Sailor. She was wanting to know if you actually had ever tried your hand at building a dimension.
I have terrible dimensions. I wish I had the same time to dedicate as a lot of the community. Unfortunately, I don't. But I do love to go and see what everyone is up to as often as I can, and jump around and look at all of them. Not just the popular ones, but just a lot of the other ones too. Because people do a lot of cool stuff that, even though it's not in the top 10 or whatever.
Yeah, that was her follow-on question. Was to wonder if you had looked at those beyond sitting at the top of the all-time list, because with the all-time, once you get up to the top, you're going to stay there.
I do look at a lot of them. I do hop around and as often as I can.
Yeah, and she also wanted to know if you ever went and if any of those ever advertised on the forums caught your eye and you'd go check those out.
Honestly, they have not, because I feel like a lot of times you go to the forums to communicate directly with the community.
Right.
It's a good avenue for that. So I don't spend too much time going through and reading signatures and things like that, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So most of the time it's just seeing what people need, what the issues are, and how things have been received generally. So.
Well, that's good though. I mean, as opposed to just looking at the only the forum advertisements, because most of the best ones that I've ever found were never advertised at all. You know, you just kind of stumble across them and go, oh wow, where'd this come from? Now, going back to the items themselves, what about crafting recipes? We have some recipes right now for armorsmith, weaponsmith, what have you. Are there ever any plans to add any more items that we can craft with the professions besides dreamweaving?
Well, Vlad and I did have a few conversations about this, and I think in the end, we felt that making dimension items is really a big part of what makes dreamweaving special. So we really wouldn't want to do anything else to take away from that, is sort of how it comes down. I know that a lot of the other professions like having more really cool, fun things to craft, but ultimately, dreamweaving, that's what their specialty happens to be, and that's what they do. Okay.
Now, going back to the dreamweaving, what about... Right now, dreamweaving is a lot of effects, and are we going to get more items that aren't necessarily effects for dreamweaving?
Absolutely, and that's part of the list of some of the existing Nightmare Tide assets that Marigold is going through right now, that we're trying to get to the community for 3.3. Some of those, I will turn them into recipes, and they will be built. Players will be able to build them.
Oh,
so there's
awesome.
just a lot of those art assets. There's different distribution channels that we can go through to hand these out to the community, and so crafting will definitely be one of them, and it will definitely be for dreamweaving. So
awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know a lot of people that build dimensions also like to do crafting and artifact hunt and all that stuff, and a few even raid.
Yep.
So now the question that everybody wants to know is building blocks.
Right.
Is that building blocks? I know I go through them by the hundreds and the thousands. And NPCs are great and everything, and I love new sky projectors and all that as much as anybody else, but most of those are like a one and done. You're not going to, we can't put, 700 NPCs in a dimension, but it's not uncommon at all to see 700 building blocks. Can you give us any clues about what kind of textures we might be seeing?
Well, I'll be honest, I don't have the list in front of me, but what I did do is a little while back, I went through the forums, I came to the community and asked what existing building blocks would you like to see, which ones are missing, and then what new ones would you like to see or need to get added to the list. And I think it was graywood planks is a big problem. So I went through and I just combed through the forums, and then I believe might have started a new thread about it. But I went and got a list of everything, and then went to Marigold with it, and now that's kind of where it's at. And as far as I'm aware, it's been approved, and now we have to go through and figure out where in the schedule that will go, and then how and when we can get that to the community.
Right.
So I don't have a definitive list of particular textures or anything, but I know that certain color marble was requested, a darker wood was requested. I think that's in that list, and some of the other more basic colors as well were also requested. I think that the community doesn't have to, Dimensioneers don't have to work with currently. So
yeah. Okay.
Discs as well. I forgot to mention. I added discs to the list for existing, building blocks. So any existing colors and textures you have, I put on that list to try to get discs made. And then any new colors going forward, hopefully, will also have discs as well. But if there are any specific texture requests, feel free. You can always email me, nholmes@trionworlds.com. It's not a problem. You just send me an email. Hopefully there's no viruses or Trojan horses, but yeah.
Preferably without the viruses and Trojan
exactly.
horses, please.
Right, preferably. Keep those to yourself, please.
Now, with discs, and I gotta say, I'm pretty stoked about this.
Me too.
Well, I hope the disc will prevent you from having to turn the Stonefield Tavern upside down.
Well, making circles is probably one of the number one reasons why I go through planks by the stack.
Wow.
How are those going to scale?
Well, I mean, we're gonna have to look and see. We're gonna have to do some R&D with them, right? Once we create one and put a texture on it, I mean, you have to understand how is a tile texture, which is a square, gonna sit on a disc, right? It might just not look that great, but that might be what we have to do to get you guys the discs you need, right? But we're gonna play with it. We're gonna do some R&D and see how they scale, and because obviously when you scale a disc, depending on the thickness is going to increase as well, right? As the radius increases, so you have to take that into account, right? It might just be something we have to live with. So.
Oh, hey, I don't care. I'm stoked about discs. And I know that there were a couple people that were wanting things like hollow tubes.
Hollow tubes, this is the first I've heard of that.
Okay.
It's not impossible. I could talk with Marigold and see if it's something we could do and how much work it would take and so on and so forth. How it would look, how you would texture the tube, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I think the main concern with like a hollow tube would probably be the interior lighting of it, just to make sure that the texture popped. Because you're gonna run into blocking faces on it.
That's a good point.
Right. Well, I don't know anything about like coding or how to actually make this stuff. So I'm just I'm going to ask for the world and others with me. Now, what about some items besides building blocks? I know you said there were some NT assets coming.
Yeah, a lot of the Nightmare Tide stuff, like the Cosmic Trees and a lot of other things, are definitely, like some of the Aquaven stuff is coming. Are you any specific assets in particular? Anything new? Because I don't believe we don't have any approval to make anything brand new that's not existing in the game already.
Right. I don't think anybody was really asking for stuff that's like not existing in the game.
Okay.
I know the pretty common request has been like, just give us everything that's out in the game world.
Well, that's a little hard, and that's kind of a broad stroke, right?
It is.
If specific assets were sent to me, like someone wants the farm from Free March or something, right?
Yep.
And then like this particular farm asset, right? And then that's a lot easier than just saying, can you take all of Free March and make them in dimension items, right? Because that's just not going to happen. But so specific objects, specific assets you might want, it wouldn't take very much time and much energy for us to probably do that. That's probably the better way to go.
Well, I know there's been I remember the request for the farm by Deniger Stand in Free March, and then there was also things like stoves, because there are some stoves that are in game. I would have to go hunt them up and take some screenshots again. And then like the little gnome, the little lawn gnome that's sitting inside Gloamwood Tavern.
Yeah, we can probably get that made into a dimension item if you want it.
Yeah.
Would be.
Yeah, again, it's easier if you're more precise with your request. Like if somebody in the community needs a particular asset, and it makes it's for the greater good of everyone, then we can totally try to get that made and put out there.
Yep. Flight actually asks a good question here. It's something that I had asked Vlad about right when you guys came on was how hard is it to take something that exists and convert it to a dimension item? Like once you have something that's been identified out in the game world, what does it take to make it a dimension item?
Well, on the art side, it takes a little bit of time. Marigold will take, in particular, she'll take the existing asset, take a look at it, make sure the textures look okay, and check the bottom of it, because since you can rotate things, we need to make sure that you can't see inside of it, right? Like a tree, for example. You flip the tree upside down, now there's no base. So she'll add bases to a lot of these objects, and then she'll hand it off to design, and then I'll take them, and then I'll convert them into dimension items. And then depending on how we distribute them, whatever channel we decide to distribute them through, I will put them there, and then you'll get them. So that's kind of how it works. It's not too much work, but it does take some art and design resources to do so. For each object. So.
Right, of course. Let's see. And then, are there any new keys planned for coming our way? I know that you had recently put out on the forums requesting, like locations that we wanted in game. Are any of those so far slated to come?
So it's funny because earlier you mentioned Deniger Stand, I think, and that was one particular, that farm I think somebody had requested, and I put it on the list, and I sent it over to Art, and they are looking at getting a handful of new keys. I can't give you a finite number yet for 3.3, for patch 3.3. We always want to try to give you the maximum number of keys and things that we can, but it takes art resources, obviously.
Right.
It all comes down to resources, right? Ultimately, and so going through and finding part of the world and doing the cutout and all of that stuff. It takes more. Actually, making a new dimension typically takes more art time than it does design time, because they have to make sure that everything works and that you can't see outside of the world where it doesn't make sense, and so on and so forth. So.
Also, that all the boundaries are in place and everything else. You can't fall through the world, and
So I could probably go on record as saying you're probably going to get at least one key for sure, and hopefully and greater than one. We can leave it at that.
Awesome.
Good.
That is a fine statement. and
I know that we want to try to do one for the that exists outside of just Dreamweaving, but I want to give a couple more keys. Some more keys for Dreamweavers to craft as well, outside of other distribution channels. So.
Okay. And now, on a lot of these new keys that have come out, the item limit has been 2520 at Tier 5. Is that a trend that's going to stay in place, or are we going to see some more of the varying item limits?
Well, I as far as the keys go, or a number higher than 2520?
Well... For a couple of them, that was actually the next question, was about like a Tier 6 upgrade.
Okay, well, we've already given everything we can in that area as far as that number 2520, so as far as I'm aware, we will never exceed that number. When the dimension system was built initially, as far as I'm aware, it was opted to what is the maximum number of dimension items a player can put in a dimension that works with our server and our hardware limitations, and said, okay, we will give them that number, and that's where we're at. Versus, we decided to hold back and only give you a little bit of numbers and then meter it out. So we started with what is the absolute maximum, and then we sort of worked down from there, allowing you to upgrade through the tier system. Right. So there are no plans to add a Tier 6 because we just can't do it.
Right. And I know that
unfortunately
that had always been the answer. I know, like, if you go into these large guild dimensions, when you start getting about 4,000, 5,000 items, well, shoot, even once you're looking at 3,000 items in them, the render time in some of them is just long, really long.
See, that goes right into the point of what I was saying about taking a tavern or something and, like, turning it into something it's not, because you're trying to make something else. And that's where I feel like getting you the right building blocks you need will prevent you from having to do that. And you get more, I guess, use out of your item numbers that way, of the maximum number of items you can have in a dimension, if you're getting the right tools you need to make the things you need to make.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to do, is get you those tools. Right.
Okay. Now, Winflight is asking another question. when it comes to dimensions like Moonshade Pools or, say, Vengeful Sky, which have a current limit of 2,000, would there ever be a chance of upgrading those to a 2520 limit?
Possible. I could look into that. I mean, there's probably a good reason that I'm not aware of that someone that there was a cap on it, right? It could be because, I don't know. Vlad might know. I don't know.
If I had to hazard a guess, I think it's just the area of the dimension itself, as far as containing that many items within that area. Other than that, I can't think of a server reason that it would be constrained, but we can certainly look into it.
Okay. Hey, that's all we can ask for.
Or anywhere.
I mean, we always want to give you the maximum number of allowable items per dimension as possible. Just keep that in mind. We're not trying to do this to be, evil or mean or anything. It's just literally, our hands are tied. So.
Right. And I know Anywhere is another one of those.
Yeah.
Because especially in Anywhere, because, you have to build literally everything in there. And then I know that this was actually mentioned before we went live, the possibility of adding more than 20 active dimensions.
So we are looking into this now, actually. I will definitely post on the forums once we have an update. I've been talking with some of the engineering group and stuff to see if it's feasible and how expensive it is, to how that data is stored on the server side, and and so on and so forth. So we're looking into it.
Okay, because I'm not sure like how much of a drain it puts on you, because I know there's a lot of the hardcore dimension builders that are coming up on 20 and 30 active dimensions, and a few with more, and then you've got like Cedrica that's at 60 now, and I think I'm at I don't even remember how many I got right now.
Language, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
58.
Sorry.
I believe you have 58.
Thanks, Steva.
I know there's some hardcore Dimensioneers out there for sure, and I love it.
So, like, say
what you have to think about is that. Your 58 are spread across how many characters?
8.
Okay,
Wow.
so
I think.
think of that as that, like, whenever we raise this limit, the chat did say that you can have n number of characters on a server with that amount of maximum dimensions, like,
right.
And then you have to say that they have all of these items along with them. So it just becomes a point of, like, whenever you load in your character and you're like, okay, what items do I have on my character? What exists on this character data? That's a big pull, when it starts to expand out. So far, we've learned that it's on-demand loading for dimensions. So there could be some hope there for raising it, but it's certainly something we have to really think about. That's a large number of items and data that we're allowing players to amass.
It's exponential growth. You increase the dimension by 1, and then that's times X characters, as Vlad said, and then X dimension items. So.
Yeah. Well, I know, like, Cedricas are a lot of small ones, but mine are all those. I mean, the loyalty dimensions. I love the loyalty dimensions, and most of mine are 2,000 items and above. So I was wondering about that. Like, I'm having a real issue with copying my main to the PTS. My main is sitting at 20 and 20. Most of them are big. I've already submitted it to support, and they're working on it. And I was wondering, just as idle curiosity, if that might have had anything to do with it, which, if it becomes an issue like that, that is something that's interesting to know. And then Dimension achievements, our achievements for Dimensions came about with 2.3. Is there any, I don't know if this is even your lane, about trying to get those maybe a little bit updated?
I can look at that. This is the first I'd heard about it. I haven't really looked at the achievement system and how it integrates with Dimensions, I'll be honest. I would like to take a look now. I wasn't sure about that. I didn't know. So if there's a problem, I mean, what exactly, can you give me an example of what needs to be addressed? What's the problem?
Well, let me see here. Let me open it up.
I think what they're just asking for is that new categories for Dimension achievements, like or just to extend the current achievements out.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah.
I mean, I just have to get it put in the schedule, get it approved, put in the schedule. I don't see why not. I mean, sure.
Because you've got, like, say, Dimension Magnate, which is acquire your 10th dimension. That's like the easiest one to get, especially with minions dropping keys from the sky. Like, now that we can have 20 active, what about expanding that to, acquire your 20th dimension, acquire your however, insert random number here. Just...
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not too much work on the design side either for me to put something like that in. So,
yep.
Yeah, I would say for sure. Just send me an email with some ideas that you have for achievements or whatever, or just
okay.
Just a reminder, really, and then I'll sit down with Vlad and stuff, and we can go from there.
Okay.
Great.
And I know
Thank you.
when Minions, especially right after Minions came out, there was just all kinds of requests about, we need to salvage dimension items. I'm drowning in dimension items. Blah blah blah. I hate dimensions. Blah. Going on. And I know at one time the answer on that was definitely a no on being able to ever salvage dimension items. Has there been any change with that?
Well, go ahead, Vlad.
I'll take this one. Yeah, we're probably not going to allow that just because of the amount of dimension items that come into the world through resource streams.
Right.
It would. So if you think about the economy of a server, where you have faucets and sinks of resources, like turning that on, we would have to increase the cost of everything probably by 10 times.
Oh yeah.
Or more.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to hurt Dimensioneers by increasing the value of dimension items in this way. Like, I mean, the way they currently circulate the game economy allows for them to quickly and easily get into the hands of those that will use them the most, right? And so as soon as people start breaking them down into other components, it immediately impacts supply. And if they break them down into something of higher value, then the effect can be exponential.
Yeah, I know there were some concerns about, you can get on the store and just buy orange cork jugs, which are 1 gold a piece by the stack, and then break those down, and then you would turn around and sell those, whatever mat came of it. I know salvaging dimension items just kind of makes me die a little bit inside.
Me too.
Well, for all intents and purposes, I think the dream weaving and the dimension item economy is fairly flat, and we want to keep it that way.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's a closed loop, and we're going to keep it that way.
Okay, because I mean, dimensioning right now is great because it's not. It used to be really, really expensive, and now it's really so much not.
Yes.
And that's
one thing we did
great thing.
One thing we've been talking about internally, and we'd like to do, and again, this is approved, but it's on the way down the road. Who knows how long you guys will see this, if ever, list, was to convert dimension items into a collection, right? And that was something sort of like how artifacts work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was something we talked about and we wanted to do, and it's approved, but we haven't seen any movement on it. So it could be 6 months, if ever, right? That we would get to that. But
right.
We'd like to do something like that. So then, it kind of like how the new wardrobe system works. If you've seen any of that stuff on PTS,
oh yeah,
was just to try to get because then it would ease the burden of all the items that are floating in the world and all the space they're taking and so on. So
yeah,
again, that's not 100%. But go ahead, Vlad. Sorry.
Go ahead. I just wanted to reiterate that this is something that we've talked about, and it's just a matter of like, when do we get the art and the engineering and resources, and again the design side resource as well, just because we would be the owners of all of that data, like populating it out. Mm-hmm. I can speak from this firsthand since I have done quite a bit of the data population for wardrobes along with Arconics, and just the wardrobe system itself. That was several weeks worth of work from both of us, and dimensions are dimension items. We probably have 1,000 times more.
We have 2,300 dimension items in the game, at least.
Yeah,
I've counted them. My spreadsheet has counted them, really.
And we would be happy with another 2300 dimension items. I'm just
I'm
throwing
sure.
that out there. Okay, because I know that was something that was very intriguing to me, was like a collection of dimension items, uh, just for the storage constraints that we are under right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hoard everything. I don't sell it. I don't give it. Well, I give a few things away here and there, but I mean I hoard it all, because you never know. There's been some things I was like, well, I will never ever use that, and then I kept it, and then wouldn't you know, maybe 6 months, 8 months, 9 months down the line, it was like, hey, I have this, and it would be perfect here. So that's why I hoard everything. But then the flip side of that is, I've got alts with guild banks, and their personal banks are full, and the guild banks are full, and now you're doing the mailbox shuffle, trying to hold all this stuff.
I've been there.
Yeah. And the wardrobe change is great, because now I'm going to take all these wardrobe items out of my bank so I can put dimension items in instead.
It's sort of the RPGer's dilemma, right? Say,
Yeah.
you don't know what this thing is used for, but you don't want to get rid of it because you might need it, right?
That's right. That's right. Better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Let's see. And then going back with those, and this might be more of an engineering thing, you mentioned in a 3.0 thread that one of the things that you would like to do would be to see some increased functionality within, like how we can place items, like being able to lock items or rotate in groups, or the ambient toggle was one that was really interesting to me.
Well, as far as we know, this is still on the schedule. Where in the schedule it is, how far out it is, I cannot say. I do not know yet. I'm not quite sure. But I know that it's still been approved, and we still want to do that. But again, it's all how we want to spend our engineering bucks, right, and our art bucks. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I know the ambient toggle was a really interesting one, and it's interesting to a lot of people just because of dimensions like Vengeful Sky. A lot of people have said, that they can't handle listening to the constant thunder that's in Vengeful Sky.
Oh, the audio way to give you control over the sound in the the dimension.
Right, because
Some
like
of those
if
we
you're
can
doing
turn
it,
off.
you can turn off, like if you go into the settings and just turn down the environment sound, that'll turn it off. But not everybody does that.
Well, I was going to say that we can actually, on the design side, we can go in and make changes to the actual dimension itself to remove that. But that doesn't actually solve the problem of giving you control as a Dimensioneer over turning it off and on. And I believe we have a request in to get that. It's in the same group with the other request of ability to lock items and rotate them in groups, and then and it's in there with those as well.
Okay. And then, will there ever be the possibility of like dying dimension items in a manner not unlike wardrobe pieces? And I realize that is most likely an engineering question, but it's still something that a lot of people were curious about.
I've seen this come up a few times. It's an interesting challenge. Really, it's a question, like you said, for someone on the engineering side. But as far as I'm aware, we don't have any plans for this right now. We do, however, have an approved list of new building blocks that we're going to try and get to you guys for 3.3. They might make it in for 3.3. So
okay,
it's the best we can do right now.
Okay, hey, and then coming into some other questions. World event dimension items. What is once upon a time we used to have those available all year. What would be the chances that we would ever see a return to something like that? Well, Summerfest stuff is still on the store, and it's been on the store since last summer. But what about the carnival items, the household? There's like cups and plates and all this useful stuff that's really in with Carnival of the Ascended.
Well, historically, whenever we add in cool new things, we tended to make the current things available through other channels. So if we add in new plates and utensils, as an example, those existing ones would then get moved to a different distribution channel for you to gain access to them. Because we don't want to take away from the coolness of having these things available during certain times when the certain events are active, right?
Right.
Because, for example, like if we have a firework and you can only get it during Summerfest, I don't want to now take another firework that's the same and make it available year-round, because then it diminishes the value of the one that's available during Summerfest.
Right.
So really it has to come down to when we add in cool new items, then we can take the existing ones, like using Dimension items as an example, and make those available like year-round or through other channels.
Okay. And then what about especially with like Carnival of the Ascended and some of the others, Fayule actually will let us buy things individually, but for most other events you have to get it in a kit.
Well, that wouldn't be hard to break them out and make them available during that world event. I think that was just maybe an oversight or something that needs someone just. It's just the way that it was implemented. I think ultimately,
right.
It wouldn't be hard to do that. Send me an email and I'll make sure I keep that in mind for the next coming up event.
Which is Summerfest.
Summerfest, right? And Autumn Harvest, yeah.
Yeah, because well, I know Summerfest has some really good stuff. That's got the gazebos, some fair hedges, and I can. The hedges to me make sense being in a kit because it's like 24 pieces and it's supposed to be the whole thing.
Right.
But the gazebos, I'm not sure. And then especially with the Carnival of the Ascended items, because those kits are just huge. Like the one kit I think is 64 items.
Wow.
So if you don't have plenty of bag space, then you're not opening that kit.
Well, some of the more. I mean, depending on how the kit is distributed, how you get it currently, whatever assets are in there that we'd like to pull out and make them available, they will be available the same way the kit is available. So however you get that kit, those will come through that way, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So if it's on a merchant, then those items will be available on that same merchant as the kit.
Right.
As an example.
Right. And I know that, and this wasn't just me asking questions, it was other people asking questions about like the 2.7 mystery boxes. We get some of those items from Minions, but then there's others that we don't. Would there ever be a way to get some of those maybe releasable through other avenues? Not necessarily Minions. I mean, honestly, if I could just go to the store and buy those Hammernail statues, I would be just thrilled.
Well, a few of those, I know they were meant to remain in there to keep the value of that particular kit up, right? So to make it cool, right? So like if you have kit A and it's got the cool Hammernail statue in it, we want people to be happy that they got the kit, right? Because then it has value, right? If I take that statue out of it, then the kit, it diminishes the value of that kit, as an example. But I'm not going to say no, we can't do that. We could absolutely look into taking certain specific assets and making them available. I know at one point there were certain assets we didn't want to have available, and I'd have to look and see which ones which ones happen to be fall into that, but it's definitely potentially doable. Yes.
Well, with the mystery box itself, I mean, you know, if we were to make a new mystery box, that had like, you know, new cool chase items in it and stuff like that, we could certainly look at taking the other mystery box and, like, you know, piecing out the pieces in it, and selling them individually. But you know, the thing is that, you know, what makes the mystery box cool is that there is the chance that you can get this really awesome item out of it.
Right.
So you know, whenever you remove that really cool chase item out of it, then why would I buy the mystery box?
Right. Well, right. I get what you're saying. Okay. Fair enough.
It's a trade-off. Like if we give you the Hammernail statue, then we have to have another item that you want to chase. Does that make sense? And then you're going to want that item.
And then we're still grumbling about I don't have the space to open up more mystery boxes.
Well, we can certainly look at you know, like I don't want to say reducing the value of the mystery box, but if it's one of those things where, you know, we're dumping 64 items on you, that is a lot of bag space, and that's something we can certainly look at, and that's just a quality of life improvement, so that, you know, you don't run into situations where, oh my God, I've opened up this box, I do not have any bag space, what am I going to do, like, you know, to get rid of it, or, you know, to get out of this state.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Um, PvP dimensions. Is there ever any plan to try to expand on those?
Well,
Or
that's an interesting idea. We chatted a little bit about this, but we have no plans at this time.
mm-hmm.
Really, is what it comes down to.
Because I know, like, as far as some of the PvP items, the banners and start points make the most awesome dimension teleport thing that you can use together. And I don't know if that was ever an intended use of them, but you know that I know that's what they turned into.
To teleport within the same dimension, you mean?
Oh yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be hard for me to make something like that, right?
Yeah.
Make a non-PvP version or something. Go ahead, Vlad.
Well, I was going to say it's just a happy side effect, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because the only downside is that oh boy, you get flagged. Whoa. Watch out now. But no, I mean, because I've seen with the PvP demand, the banners and the start points, is there's really been just like a huge amount of creativity from the builders out there in how they use these things to get around. And mostly it's to try to skirt the item limits with other things, because you don't have to make stairs in that point.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I mean, I'm very cool with the PvP things. I was just wondering if, you know, like if there were ever any plans to maybe expand the PvP dimension system.
Not at this time. Not really. No.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it was just one of those things we did just to as kind of an experiment, really.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to say, like, hey, you know, you can here's a chance for you to make your own battlegrounds, and so yeah, it's a cool thing. I know that some of the things that people have asked for are like leaderboards and stuff like that, and it's really hard to put a leaderboard onto someone's personal dimension, especially since we have no control over what you place in there. Like it just becomes a situation where you're probably going to generate more frustration from the players than you will happiness.
Right, because you don't know if there's allowing for exploits and things like that in there.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I've made a couple just specifically for PvP, and there was a group on Deepwood that was running tournaments all the time, and I know there's still a group on Fabelite that's running PvP dimension tournaments. I think every Thursday they have their what do they call it? I can't remember right now, but okay. Trophies. The trophy section on the Dimension Store. Right now, what you get from the CE items from Nightmare Tide, it's, you know, what you get is what you get, and you can't get any more, say, through the trophy section.
Mm-hmm.
I
guess I was trying to understand. So there are certain items on here, and you can only buy them once. Is that what is that it?
Yeah,
correct?
like,
is that how I understand? Okay.
Like, say I bought one of the CEs for Nightmare Tide. Thanks, Joe. That's it. I got my mermaid and my boat and all this other stuff, but once I use that mermaid, that's it. I can't get another one. Or once I place that boat somewhere, then I cannot get another boat.
Well, I did talk with Simon a little bit about this, and it came down to we really don't have any plans at this time. It seems like, looking at some of how the data was set up on the design side, it's a lot of work to take something like that and make it so you can purchase it multiple times.
Right.
And then, I mean, it would have to be probably, you know, buy into account, things like that, because we can't have these collector's edition items circulating.
Right.
So currently there's no plans, not to say it couldn't happen.
Well, I know, like, say the loyalty items, they started out the same way. And even now on the store, they're soulbound. So say if I want to get something on my main, I can go get it, but if I want it for an alts dimension, then I have to hop on that alt and buy it. But it's still soulbound. So I
mean, we can certainly look at that. I mean, the structure is in place for us to allow it. It's just a matter of does it diminish that item if you can have like 100 of them in your dimension? You know what I mean? Like it's something we'll have to weigh
Right.
for sure.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. And then the Nightmare Raid artifact sets. Once you complete those, you get some pretty spiffy items. And they're currently not on the trophy section either, or bounties, the bounty items, the heads. Just as things. And then there was one thing, when you completed the artifact set from fishing in the Nightmare Tide Zones, you got the little trophy rainbow fish, and
Right.
And that's gone. Now,
Gone?
yeah, it's gone.
Okay, that's odd.
Yeah.
That sounds like a bug.
Yeah, it's definitely shoot an email on that one.
Yeah,
or-
send me an email and I'll follow up and look into that.
Okay. But yeah, I was just, curious because it seems like most of the Nightmare Tide stuff, I mean, we got the Shamblers and all the stuff from Arena Fate is available on the trophy section, but some of this other stuff is not. And then there was another question I had that I'm not sure if it's an engineering type of question, is the visual effects reliability.
Yeah, I'd love to really track this down for you. If you can, or someone can pass along some more information to my try-on email address, like with accurate steps to reproduce and sort of the hardware requirements, and I'll pass it along to the engineering team and try to get it looked at. I tried to reproduce this. I talked to a few people, and I don't have enough information to build it hands up, because the engineering group would like accurate steps or to understand a character with a dimension where this is happening, and then I can copy that character or go into the dimension on live and take a look and show them the problem firsthand. That works best.
Okay. I mean, I know that, like, sometimes if I'm running my system a long time, my lights will turn off, my paints will stop showing up. For a long time, I wouldn't even use like terrain paints or anything like that, because they were, I don't know, I guess I was lazy. And then the sound objects were another thing that was really interesting to me. You mentioned on the forums, like, being able to take a sound object. The only thing I can picture in my head is like an icon, like the Dreamweaving icons, and be able to place it in a dimension. Do you have anything more on those?
Well, when you say sound object, are you talking about something that just emits sound?
Yeah, there was on one of the threads, one of the epic threads, there was a comment about some of the sound objects where you could place it and it would just play sounds, not necessarily like a music box, but maybe some other kind of different sound, like, I don't know, birds or whatever.
Well, we can take an object and we can attach a 3D sound to that object, and then you can place the object wherever you want, and it's a 3D sound, so it'll have Doppler and everything like that. So, and we can control where the fall off is, and the audio team can take existing sounds or make one-off sounds, and we can do that if that's what you're talking about. I mean, that's sort of what I think was talking about. Like, for example, the sound of like running water. For example, somebody might want to have that sound near their tavern or something, right? In their dimension, so they'll have a tavern and they'll be like, okay, I want this to sound like running water nearby because it's soothing or whatever. So they'll place that object with that 3D sound that's attached to it, like hidden somewhere, right? Like under the building or something.
Right.
And then now, whenever you're walking around the tavern, it sounds like there's running water. That's sort of what I was talking about. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, that does make sense.
Really, that's what it comes down to. Like, for example, the sound of ambient noise of a tavern, right? Of like people talking and laughing, and the sounds of like glasses clinking and things like that. That would be like a good 3D ambient sound that you can drop down inside of a tavern. Continue with the tavern example.
And put that in there with the with all the NPCs. Now, I did have. Well, this one wasn't on my list. My question was about the NPCs that are on the PTS right now. Okay. Have the distribution methods for those been worked out yet?
By and large, it's going to be on the Rift Store, and some of them I gave to Simon, so he's gonna hand some out through his puzzles and whatnot. I know that, awesome. Like Buffo and a few other things he's going to hand out that way. So Yeah, it was just with the time I had, it was easier just to make them all available in the store for now and not gate them behind content or put them behind content that you have to accomplish currently.
Yeah.
So
Well, I appreciate that, because if we're on the PTS testing and trying to jump through hoops to get the item to test it, doesn't, in my head, it doesn't gel, but yeah.
Well, it could be a challenge for us because if we set up the data a certain way, we put it on like a test NPC or something. We have to make sure that test NPC doesn't find its way out to the live environment, right? So.
Right, because I know the raid dummy in the Foundry has had certain items periodically that are like right when Dreamweaving came out, it was all that credit only stuff you could get off the raid dummy. So I get what you're saying about not wanting that on live, because being able to buy every dimension key for 1 silver.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That can be a bit problematic. We don't want to roll back everyone's characters, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's a take down the server type of situation, and we would really like to avoid those.
Good job, Tryon. You're doing it again. Yeah.
And we do have a question on the chat right now about enemy NPCs in Dimensions and maybe being able to make our own dungeons. Is that like maybe a far off thing?
Well,
or
we
ever?
could give you NPCs that don't give experience, because that would be a problem, right, potentially. But, I mean, we have the punching dummies that you can practice. But if you want NPCs, because NPCs don't play nice with dimensions, this has been a problem for a while, right, with pathing and things like that.
Right.
So it'd be really hard. We could give you static NPCs. I mean, Krug has been he's been dabbling a lot with doing R&D work with those, with the cats, right? You've probably seen them. The ones that you can place, or you can have one that's sitting or walking, right? But by and large, pathing and dimensions doesn't play nice together. So it's hard to give you NPCs that do things. But we could potentially, theoretically, I won't sign up for this, but we could potentially give you NPCs that you could fight that would use abilities and things like that. But then they path when they try to go into combat, and it could be messy.
Yeah.
Actually, it's. Like a combat dummy is fine because it doesn't attack back and it doesn't require it itself to path. And because pathing inherently is not going to work in a dimension, mainly because we can't we can't put a nav mesh down for anything that might be floating in the air or anything like that. So it's really difficult. In fact, it's probably one of those things that we'll never get around to fixing or enable. I wouldn't say fixing. Enabling is a better word because it just doesn't exist now. NPCs can wander a small radius, which is the NPCs that you have now, but those are non-combat. And again, it would. There's too many areas that it can break and not look good, and we would prefer not to happen.
Right. Well, I know the faction NPCs that are on the PTS right now. I really get a kick out of those guys, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to switch out every test dummy I have and put a guardian NPC in so I can beat up on it.
Yeah, making more static NPCs that have scripting and stuff on them. It comes down to time, right? Those things we can do more of those things. We just have to get a request in, put it in the schedule, and then we can do it. Just what's the best use of our time?
Right.
But it's totally doable. And Krug has been awesome, making some additional content for Dimensioneers, which is great.
Yeah, he has been. I know the cat vendors. I'm not a cat person, but one of the Mathosian fold cat that's on the PTS right now is it's cute. It's really cute. I might have to get one of those or a couple of them. Diva's the crazy cat lady.
Oh no!
Why not, right?
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Well. We do want to thank you for your time today, especially on your day off. I I mean, we both really appreciate you coming on with us to talk about dimensions.
We sure do.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Hey.
thank you very much.
Yeah, we appreciate it a lot. And hope everyone has a happy Easter, which is tomorrow.
Oh, you
Yes,
too.
happy Easter to everyone.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, and again, thank you very, very much for taking the time to talk with us. Your email may be getting blown up.
That's fine. It's part of my job.
Fair warning.
Yeah, just send all the emails to Morticus.
Yeah, right.
Not me.
Will do.
Morticus. Yeah, he's the in the trenches guy. I'm just the guy that he just like says, "Hey, can we do this or not?" Maybe.
Vlad is good at vetting all my bad ideas.
Hey, I mean, we all have to have that, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's good to have a sounding board.
Yeah, that feedback loop and sounding boards and someone just to vent to sometimes. But again, thank you for coming on with us. You gave us a lot of good information today. I expect to be on Riff Great in about an hour.
Awesome. Yeah, keep your eyes on the forums. That's where I spend most of my time too when I'm interacting with the community. So.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I've seen you post like late Saturday nights. I've seen you post on Saturdays, and it's like, man, come on, guy, go get out or something, But hey, I'm not complaining, not at all.
We appreciate it very much. All your hard work.
No problem. Anytime.
Yeah,
Well,
and we look forward to seeing what's coming. So, so thank you very much for your time.
Yep. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
You too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
And next week, join us. We'll be back on Greybrier with Anna Maya, and we'd like to thank her for coming on. She's tuning in from Australia, so it'll be extra early for her in the morning, and I think that'll do it for this week. So I know my head is buzzing from everything that we talked about today.
I really learned a lot.
Yeah.
From them.
Yes.
And a lot to look forward to, so
definitely.
It's awesome.
Definitely, not just for 3.2, but 3.3 as well.
Oh, definitely. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Yes.
Everybody have a happy Easter. I hope you enjoyed my tours of several of Fiendish's dimensions, and one at the very end by Sailor. She made one of her item storage dimensions on Greybrier called Item Deposit, and it just always makes me smile, so I ended on that one. So thanks again. Thank you, Fiendish.
Thank you, Diva. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I missed all of you so much. Take care.
Well, that's just evil. That's just evil.